keeping some of that optionality in the mix, whether it's because of cash on hand or not fully building your entire agency off of one tech stack at this point when it's changing so fast, is something that I would definitely advise.
Welcome to the Insurance Leaders Lab podcast, where we decode leadership and operations in insurance organizations and offer practical strategies for simpler actions, better results, and a more fulfilling life. If you're an insurance professional looking to succeed as a leader, you've come to the right place. Our host, Nina Shepard, has been an insurance leader for over 3 decades and is also a professional executive coach for senior leaders in transition. Our guests are remarkable individuals from various insurance industry sectors and related fields. Together, we cut through the noise to discuss what works, what doesn't, and what's ahead, helping you to build up your leadership skills and achieve better results. New episodes are released bi-weekly on Thursdays. Subscribe now to get your thinking juices flowing, one episode at a time. Bold leaders, frank dialogue, actionable strategies. Welcome to the Insurance Leaders Lab. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to welcome an amazing guest, Jake Cash, to the Insurance Leaders Lab podcast. Most insurance agencies don't control their growth. Their vendors do. Jake Cash is on a mission to change that. As the founder of Senryx Group and former strategy lead at GEICO's agency network, where he managed $500 million plus in media partnerships, Jake's has helped more than 300 P&C agencies build systems they actually own. So, if you are building your marketing independence, our conversation is meant for you. Good morning, Jake.
Good morning, Nina. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. I'm excited to have a conversation with an expert like you about building a marketing strategy that supports an independent agency growth. This is so needed topic. But before we go deeper, would you like to share your insurance story? How did it all start for you?
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation today, and hopefully it'll be fruitful. I'm sure it will be as you're steering the ship for us today. I found my way into the industry about a decade ago. I like to say I didn't choose it, but it chose me. So I joined GEICO about a decade ago in marketing, and for somebody that came up from the marketing world, it felt like a really cool place to land, and a brand that built itself on like witty comedy and advertising. So no real like wow moment that pulled me in, but there was a wow moment that kept me. I actually ended up meeting my wife in the GEICO marketing department shortly after starting. And so I have a lot to thank this industry for. Obviously, my livelihood, business I've built, but also my family. That's why I really enjoy opportunities like this, whether it's a podcast, a speaking engagement, or just a one-on-one conversation to try to help give back to others in the industry that's given me so much. So it's been a wild ride, and excited to keep it going and keep building.
That's amazing story. It's a great start to start with a company like GEICO, where a lot of things are in place and still they allow for some creativity there. Some creativity, I think. But
For sure.
definitely, it's very interesting. So from there, how did you get to the idea of serving independent agency segment?
Yeah, it was about 5 years ago when I made the decision to leave GEICO. And one of the core reasons that led me to make that decision was we were in COVID times, if you remember back then, and shaky economic period. And both my wife and I were making our income from one company at the time, which felt like maybe not the right strategy. And so I was sitting with that, feeling of being overly dependent on one source of income and one company. And that's when I came to the realization that, I'm not alone in that. And having to build more independence in our own income source was one of the things that led me to build Senryx Group on this core philosophy of what we call marketing independence, and helping insurance agencies build less dependencies on key producers, vendors, carriers, platforms, and channels, so that they are a little less vulnerable to any external factors that could impact the growth of their agencies long term.
Okay, so you are in that independent channel business for 5 years plus. That's pretty risky move during COVID to move from GEICO to your own independency, but I'm sure you had the drive there, so that's why it happened. That's great. Now, what did you take with you? What are the main lessons that you took with you from your Geico experience to your new company?
Yeah, having that opportunity to manage that kind of capital at scale and test different marketing channels and tactics across the entire country taught me that there is almost a formulaic approach to how you layer on different marketing channels to get the highest ROI for your insurance agency's growth. It's really hard these days to separate signal from the noise, especially online. We're living in these echo chambers of these algorithms that are specifically built for us and what our interests are. And it's really easy to get caught up in the latest and greatest flashy marketing tactic or thing that's out there online that I like to say the marketing bros are talking about and touting as the only way to grow your agency. But I think sometimes because these new AI channels or these new tactics are so cool and so refreshing, it's easy to forget that if you don't have your fundamentals in place, like having a website that clearly signals your value proposition to your ideal client profile, having follow up for anybody who reaches out to you and wants to do business with you in a way that's fast and automated so that you don't have to do it manually, things like that in place to allow your marketing to kind of build on top of each other over time. And a lot of times we see agencies fail because they don't have those fundamentals in the background that set themselves up for success when they try these new tactics.
Okay. Well, from what I'm hearing, you're actually going broader than just marketing. Because when you're talking about fundamentals, okay, sure, you need a website, but then how do you react to your clients? How do you interact with your clients? Is that all part of the strategy that you're building for your clients?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we like to start off any engagement with assessment and a roadmap session where we take a step back and we sit at that 10,000-foot level. And the agencies we work with are obviously in the weeds every day. And that combination of us being able to bring what we've seen work with other agencies and make recommendations and apply it to their specific audience and their specific agency's strengths, weaknesses, and resources they have available as well is what allows us to build marketing strategy that's really custom built to that specific insurance agency and where they're at in their life cycle and what goals they have to reach in the future as well.
Okay, so you work as an expert and consultant with the independent agencies, and I'm sure you see both bad and good examples, right? What are the biggest marketing challenges insurance agencies are experiencing right now? What's in your mind are top three?
Yeah, we like to think of our industry as being in a bit of a silo, right? Maybe we don't move as fast as maybe some other industries do. We're potentially a little more tech averse than some other industries, but
Oh,
I think
that's
that
for sure.
thinking, yeah, exactly. I think that thinking boxes us in a little bit, and that's not how consumers think about insurance, right? So we live in this on-demand economy. We have Amazon that we can order something, and in some cases, it might arrive within hours. We can pull up Netflix and watch our favorite movie on demand whenever we want. You know, we've been trained as consumers in this economy to expect immediate, seamless experiences. And that expectation from consumers doesn't turn off when they go to talk to their insurance agent. And so, because consumers are demanding fast responses and consistency across every touch point, whether it's a direct message, an email, a phone call, your website, they don't think of independent agencies in this bucket compared to a big carrier like a Geico or a Progressive, for example. They think of it all as the same thing and they have the same expectations no matter who they're going through for their insurance. So I think that's the biggest challenge I'm seeing right now that agencies are having to keep up with.
Totally, I agree. So, what do we do about it?
That's a big question, a loaded one,
That's a
right?
big question. Yeah, yeah. You are absolutely right. We and I am working in an independent agency, so I can say we are compared from the expectations point of view with Geico's and banks and Amazon, which is instant reaction. And it doesn't happen like this. So, how can you help us with that? Is that a communication? Is that setting expectations? What's your suggestions there?
Yeah, it's comes down to differentiating yourself from those other players in your messaging before a prospect even reaches out. to you. And right now, so many people are touting their use of AI in the industry. And I think AI is great. It's going to allow us to be a lot more efficient in the back end. But where people are potentially getting a little bit in trouble is by touting it externally to their customer base. When in reality, right now, the opportunity is to really lean into your human advantage. And nobody likes to call a phone number and get stuck on an IVR for 15, 30, 45 an hour, right? And if we can lean into our human advantage and say, hey, when you call us, you're going to talk to a person. And that's how we differentiate ourselves from those big players. I think there's going to be more and more people that are interested in having that personalized experience, even if it does mean potentially a little bit of a slower experience. I think that trade off is going to get more clear in people's minds as they move forward and get sick of getting stuck in chatbot hell, right?
That's an interesting thought. So you're saying that is that the biggest opportunity for independent agencies in the AI/technology era?
I think it's one of them for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another opportunity would be to make sure you're tailoring your strategy to your strengths and weaknesses. We touched on that a little bit already, but I
Uh-huh.
see a lot of hive mind in the industry where a lot of people learn from their peers. And I think that's awesome because there's a lot of knowledge that can be passed from one agency to another, but it's not always one size fits all when it comes to strategy. And so you have to be able to take what worked for someone else and make some adjustments to apply it to yourself. That's another opportunity as well, is not to follow the leader, for example, but to break away, take best practices and apply them to your agency based on your unique situation.
Okay. It's easier said than done.
It is.
It's so much easier to go with the flow, right? With follow the leader and do what everyone else is doing. Yeah. Okay. So, marketing strategy, because we know that it's important to have the right marketing strategy in place to support the growth. So, how does a good marketing strategy look like?
A good strategy is based on some of the things that we talked about already, but it takes into account where your agency is at right now, what resources you have available to you. I see a lot of people that say, you should be posting on social media X many times a day to reach your target audience, right? And social media is great. I personally don't love using social media. I have to grow my own business. But just giving that example, because a lot of times we hear these people online that are kind of preaching from a pulpit saying this is the way to grow your agency, but it doesn't take into account your specific strengths and your weaknesses and what you actually like to do. The best marketing strategy is a marketing strategy that's going to be actually repeatable. And so if you're going to go have to engage in LinkedIn comments for 30 minutes a day, but you hate it, that's not going to last for more than a month, 2 months, right? If I were you and you hated doing that, then we would build a strategy that's based on what you actually like to do, what resources you have. Do you have time available? Do you have money available? Let's build a strategy that's based on what you like to do, your strengths, where your audience is.
Jake, where have you seen independent insurance agents who have time and money? There's none.
Yep, that's a great point. And we have to get real in those conversations, right? Because usually it's a trade off. I mean, we can't do everything. So you have to think about, what are you sacrificing to pursue growth? Are you sacrificing your time somewhere in the business? Are you the key producer as an agency owner still? And maybe you need to sacrifice that role by training your employees better so that you do get your time back to focus on different growth levers. Those are a lot of the conversations that we have.
Great. I also heard you talking at some point about balancing your strategy into several buckets. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have done a study of over 300 insurance agencies that we've worked with and sliced and diced the data as many ways as possible, looking at agency size, demographics, geographies, lines of business, et cetera, looking for the trends that hold together from the top performers so that we can take that learning and apply it
Mhm.
to other agencies we work with. And the one thing that we found consistently of the top 10% of performers that we worked with was they were generating business from a diverse set of marketing channels. So what that meant was generally about a third of their business was coming from referral sources, about a third was coming from digital marketing. And then the third bucket we like to classify as traditional marketing, mostly because uh, it's not really possible to have 100% attribution of where exactly you got every single policyholder from, right? And so that traditional marketing bucket, it could be word of mouth. It could be someone who saw an ad and then didn't reach out for a couple months, but when it came time to shop, did reach out, and they couldn't be classified in one of those other channels. So that's one of the things we focus on, is building that over time. No insurance agency starts out with a diverse marketing mix. You start out leaning into what you do best, right? And then you have to diversify over time to become more resilient and build longer term.
Okay. And this is what you help the agency to build. Do you have any success stories that you would like to share?
Yeah, I can give you maybe a couple here. So one, I'll hit them quick, but one would be an agency owner we're working with in Florida, actually, in your neck of the woods. They had some really high highs, but in recent times we're having some pretty low lows, and they were actually thinking about, hey, how long of a runway do I have here? Do I need to think about
Okay.
potentially shutting the agency down in the next year if I can't get this growth going back again? We started working with them, built a strategy tailored to them. And within 2 months, they had doubled their monthly growth rate from about 50 policies a month is what they were writing to 100 within a 2 month period. And now they're writing, I think, over 400 or 500 policies a month. This is personal lines, mostly auto. That was over the course of about 6 months, going from 50 to about 400 or 500 policies a month.
That's a great
Another,
result. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that happens every single time. I can't make any
Disclosure.
promises, but exactly, exactly. There's no promises in marketing, but yeah, that was a really good result. So
Okay. Okay. That's great. So, from your experience, if we take a step back and you look into the state of the industry, if you wish, for now, if you could encourage every insurance agency leader to do one thing that would make the biggest impact for them in the future, what would that be?
I think it would be to stop renting and start owning your growth. So it's okay to rely on external partners to help you grow your agency. And in some cases, it's necessary because you can't do everything yourself. But over time, as you get more sophisticated and your agency gets larger, I do think that ROI becomes better if you're able to learn and then train an agency to take something on themselves so that they don't have to be stuck in retainer jail. There's a lot of marketing agencies out there that just want you to keep paying them every month, as opposed to essentially teaching you to fish, so
Mhm.
that you become self reliant in the long run. And I do think that that's an opportunity in our industry to be a little bit more self reliant in the long term.
Okay. Okay. Give me some specific examples, please, on what you mean when you are saying don't rent it, take it in your own hand. Are you suggesting that I need to kind of create my own website? What are we talking about here specifically?
Great question. I don't think that you should or have to create your own website, for example. I do think that you should rely, when you have the ability to, rely on experts that know what they're doing to build things for you. But there
Mhm.
comes a point in marketing vendor relationships, I've found, because I've seen it both on the client side and now on the vendor or consultant or agency side, whatever you want to call us, is there comes a point when the relationship can go awry because there's no longer a need for the hands-on day-to-day work that the agency is supposed to do. And there's an opportunity for them to essentially train you to do that yourself and then jump in if you ever really need that support long term. So I can give you an example on the automation side. Automations are huge in the industry right now. We're trying to figure out, especially using AI, how we automate all of the manual tasks that we do hundreds of times a day or a week, right? If someone builds you an automation, because there's a lot of AI automation companies out there these days, do you actually own that automation if they stop working with you? That's a question that I would be asking, because ownership of the actual workflow is going to be important long term. Because if you don't, then you'll have to restart from zero if you end that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. What do you own in your relationship with vendors? And I appreciate you bringing that to everybody's attention. Okay. Okay. So, from a broader picture perspective, what are you advising your clients? What will make the biggest difference? What will separate the top 5% from the others in the future?
Yeah. You honestly just hit on it to some degree. So I think optionality is going to become more and more important as we go forward. I'm trying to keep up with AI just as much as everybody else is. It's basically a full time job just to keep up with it, right? Because it's
Totally.
moving at
Okay.
such a fast pace. And one of the things I think we've seen over the last couple of years with it is this kind of leapfrog that's happening where
Yeah.
maybe one month OpenAI, their latest ChatGPT model is the best. And then the next month, maybe it's Gemini. And the next month, maybe it's Claude, for
I
example.
remember December or November of 2022 when everyone was, oh, there is that thing, ChatGPT, you can put something in and it give you a text back. And 3 years later, it's
Completely different.
skyrocketed. I
So
had some conversations with the tech people who say that even within the last 3 months, the models have advanced so much that what used to take them 6 months of work can now be done in 3 weeks. So
wow.
that's really amazing. I
Yeah.
hope it's all for the best.
Agreed. Agreed. But yeah, in the midst of all this uncertainty, it's important to have optionality. I came up in the, as we discussed, in the GEICO world, which is owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And so I'm a bit of a Warren Buffett acolyte. He has a lot of great quotes and teachings. And one of the things that he's talked about a lot in his investing strategy is to hold cash when everyone else is fully deployed in assets. And I think if you have a little bit more cash on hand right now. I know it's not always possible, but I do think that that gives you a little bit more optionality and trying new technologies every different month that they're emerging, right? Not building your entire AI stack and automations off of Claude, because what happens if 3 months from now Claude is the worst of the models, right? So keeping some of that optionality in the mix, whether it's because of cash on hand or not fully building your entire agency off of one tech stack at this point when it's changing so fast is something that I would definitely advise.
That is a very interesting thought. I like it, but there's much more to it, I think,
There is.
than just cash. This is an interesting concept. Okay. Jake, there is a reason this podcast is called Insurance Leaders Lab. Because in our industry, we often are so much absorbed in daily tasks and goals that we lose the bigger picture. So, what I invite my guests and listeners to do is to step into a lab type environment, to think about the place. Imagine that you're in the place where you can experiment and try things without any negative consequences. So, from that mindset, professionally speaking, if you had a complete freedom, 500 million plus in the budget to rethink how agencies do marketing, what would you want to try? Bold
I
idea.
really like I really like the thought exercise. You had sent this over the other day and I was just racking my brain on what my answer was going to be. So hopefully it lands, but I do think that forcing agencies to give up their top performing marketing engine, their top performing new business generation channel for a year would be my kind of experiment that I would like
Wow.
to run. And my hypothesis behind that is that it's kind of a forcing function for them to have to go through that diversification strategy that we were talking earlier. And I think by the end of the year, that they would be a lot more resilient to change, less vulnerable to these external market factors like AI that we were talking about. And they'd have a much healthier agency that looks better if they ever decided to sell it, or, is less reliant on maybe a key producer or the owner of the book, for example, as well. Uh, I think there would be a lot of positive side effects, and you said there were no negatives, right? So that's why I thought this would
Yeah.
be a good one.
Yeah. Just let's imagine that there are no negatives. That's great idea. I love it. I love it. It's like we don't know what we know until we have to use it, right?
Yep,
So that's amazing. I'm going to take that as a learning point from today. Cut off of your main source and think creatively about what else can be used. I love it. Okay.
awesome.
Wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about more personal leadership. So you own your Senryx company. You're also the leading consultant. Am I correct?
Correct. Yep.
So, and you also have a family, I heard. Wonderful. So, how do you manage all that? What's your winning formula?
Yeah. My wife likes to remind me frequently that I quit my corporate job the same day she went back to work from maternity leave and our daughter started daycare. So took a bit of a risk there, but thankfully it's worked out so far.
That was a risky move. You are not a traditional insurance person. I can tell that.
Yeah. Thankfully I'd been doing it on the side for a bit. So we had the model built out. But I do think one thing that I like, a mantra that I like to say, and have for a while, that I learned during my time at Geico, is this replace yourself mantra. And the idea behind it is that I think there's this notion in the industry and probably in other industries as well that you want to be unreplaceable almost. You want people to rely on you because it gives you job security. And that's a bit small minded and it actually puts a ceiling on your growth. And if you're actually able to put yourself in a place where you're not needed anymore because you're bringing in other talented individuals, you're training people on your team to be able to do exactly what you can do so that you can focus your time on the next step, that's where people really level up. So replace yourself is kind of a philosophy that I've been focused on for quite some time.
Love it. Love it. I'm totally in agreement. That's what I always say. Until my people can do what I'm doing, I can't move to the next level. That's about leveling up. Love it. That's
Absolutely.
a great recommendation. Jake, this has been such a valuable conversation. And as we approach the end of it, is there anything else you would like to share before we finish?
I think we touched on a lot of it. I'm happy to provide some additional resources to your audience if they want to learn more.
Yes. Yes, please.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you enjoyed the combo and you just want to learn more about anything we talked about today, we have some
Yeah.
resources on our site. You can go to senryx.com/podcast. That's senryx.com/podcast. We have a free marketing independence assessment. We talked a little bit about that today. It takes like 2 minutes to fill out and you get a score that points out some of your vulnerabilities as an agency. And we also have some other downloadable resources on there. You can schedule a time with me to just have a free chat and talk shop and anything that we can do to help you. And then I also am pretty active on LinkedIn as well. So you can search me up there. It's Jake Cash and Cash, just like the money. It's my last name. So
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Just like the money. Okay, Jake, the final word of wisdom to our listeners.
final word of wisdom, I would say I had a high school football coach who was a Hall of Fame coach in our state of Indiana. And he had a leadership mantra that there was 3 great ways to lead. And it was example, example, example. There's a lot of talk in the industry and the world right now. And sometimes people are kind of shouting at each other. And I think if we could take a step back and try to demonstrate what we want others to do, I think that the people that you are trying to attract, if they are of the mindful sort and are keeping their eyes open, they will see that and they'll be attracted to the work that you do. So lead by example.
Amazing. Love it. Jake, thank you very much. Such a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I am taking a few of your recommendations back to my team. That's for sure. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And until the next time.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Insurance Leaders Lab podcast. If you like what you've heard, please like it and leave a review on your preferred podcast platform. If there is anyone else in your circle who can benefit from listening, please share this link with them. Remember, this is a podcast for you, and your opinion matters to me, so if there is any topic you'd like to bring up, please send me a note to nina@ninashepherd.com. I'll see you back in 2 weeks on Thursday morning. Bye for now.